In the year 2347, humanity had reached a point where it seemed like nothing could stop them. Earth was no longer divided into countries or regions fighting over land and resources. Instead, all humans worked together under one banner, the United Stellar Alliance, USA. This powerful governing body oversaw everything from science to space exploration. It wasn't perfect, but for the first time in history, humanity felt united. Captain Liam Carter was one of the many explorers sent out by the USA to chart unknown parts of the galaxy. He commanded a sleek starship called the Eclipse. The ship wasn't just any vessel, it was state-of-the-art, equipped with advanced technology that made interstellar travel safer and faster than ever before. But what truly set the Eclipse apart was its crew. Each member brought something unique to the table, making them one of the most capable teams in the fleet. Dr. Emily Ross was the brains behind most of their scientific discoveries. She had a knack for solving puzzles others thought impossible. Her curiosity knew no bounds, and she often spent hours poring over data, searching for answers hidden in plain sight. Then there was Jake Monroe, the pilot whose reflexes were unmatched. Whether dodging asteroids or navigating treacherous nebulae, Jake always managed to keep everyone safe, and sometimes even entertained with his dry humor. The rest of the crew included Sophie Grant, the ship's engineer who could fix anything with a wrench and a bit of ingenuity, Lieutenant Alex Brooks, the calm and collected security officer, and Commander Maria Lopez, second in command and someone Liam trusted completely. Together they formed a tight-knit team ready to face whatever the galaxy threw at them. On this particular mission, the Eclipse was tasked with exploring a distant nebula located on the edge of known space. Nebulae were tricky places, beautiful, yet dangerous, filled with swirling gases and unpredictable gravitational forces. Scientists believed these areas might hold clues about how stars formed and died, so sending a ship like the Eclipse made sense. Little did anyone know, this routine expedition would change everything. As the ship entered the nebula, visibility became nearly zero. Thick clouds of colorful gas obscured their sensors, forcing Jake to rely solely on manual controls. "Feels like flying blind," he muttered as he adjusted the thrusters. Despite the challenges, the crew remained focused. They had been trained for situations like this, and none of them doubted their ability to handle whatever came next. Hours passed without incident until Dr. Ross noticed something unusual on her scanner. At first, she thought it was just interference caused by the nebula's dense atmosphere, but upon closer inspection, she realized it was an object, a large metallic structure floating silently in the void. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. Liam joined her at the console, studying the readings carefully. Whatever it was, it didn't match any known designs. Its surface shimmered faintly, reflecting the light from nearby stars. Most intriguingly, it emitted a faint signal, almost like a heartbeat. "Could be debris from an old ship," Jake suggested, leaning against the wall casually. "Or maybe aliens finally decided to say hello." Ignoring his sarcasm, Liam ordered the ship to move closer. As they approached, details began to emerge. The object looked ancient, covered in strange markings that seemed to glow softly. It wasn't just some random piece of junk. It was clearly crafted by intelligent hands, and then, as if sensing their presence, the artifact pulsed brighter, bathing the cockpit in an eerie blue light. "This is incredible," Dr. Ross whispered, awestruck. "We've found something truly extraordinary." But not everyone shared her enthusiasm. Commander Lopez frowned, crossing her arms. "Sir, we don't know what this thing is or what it's capable of. Bringing it aboard could be risky." "She's right," Alex added, gripping the hilt of his weapon instinctively. "What if it's dangerous?" Liam considered their concerns, but ultimately shook his head. "If we leave it here, someone else will find it eventually. Do we really want to take that chance?" He turned to Sophie. "Can you bring it inside safely?" Sophie nodded, already heading toward the cargo bay. With precision engineering skills, she activated the ship's tractor beam, pulling the artifact into the hold. Once secured, the entire crew gathered around it, marveling at its intricate design. Up close, the glowing symbols appeared to shift and change, as though alive. "Any idea what those markings mean?" Liam asked, glancing at Dr. Ross. She hesitated, running her fingers lightly over the surface. "Not yet, but I'll start analyzing them immediately." Her eyes sparkled with determination. Who knows what secrets this holds? For the next few hours, the crew worked tirelessly to unlock the artifact's mysteries. Dr. Ross led the effort, feeding data into the ship's mainframe while Sophie monitored the power levels. Meanwhile, Jake kept watch outside, ensuring no unexpected dangers lurked nearby. Then, without warning, the artifact reacted. A surge of energy coursed through the ship, causing lights to flicker and alarms to blare. Everyone froze, unsure of what was happening. Suddenly, a holographic figure materialized above the artifact. It resembled a humanoid shape, though its features were indistinct, as if viewed through rippling water. "Who are you?" Liam demanded, stepping forward cautiously. The figure spoke, its voice echoing strangely. "I am Kyle, remnant of a civilization long extinguished. You tread paths meant for gods, mortals." The room fell silent. No one dared to breathe. Kyle continued, its tone both weary and stern. "Your kind is reckless, driven by ambition rather than wisdom. Beware, for your actions ripple across eternity." Before anyone could respond, Kyle vanished, leaving behind only a faint afterglow. The artifact grew quiet once more, its earlier activity ceasing entirely. For several moments, the crew simply stared at each other, trying to process what had just occurred. "Well," Jake said finally, breaking the tension with a nervous laugh. "That was different." Commander Lopez shot him a sharp look. "Different doesn't begin to cover it. Sir, we need to report this to command immediately." Liam nodded slowly, still processing Kale's words. "Agreed. But first, let's see if we can extract any information from the artifact. If Kale left us a message, it might tell us why they're warning us." Over the next day, Dr. Ross pored over the data, piecing together fragments of code embedded within the artifact's systems. What she uncovered stunned her and terrified her. Hidden within the artifact's memory banks were coordinates pointing to a location deep within uncharted territory. The destination was labeled simply as the Nexus. When she presented her findings to Liam, he studied the map intently. "This changes everything," he murmured. "If Kale wanted us to find this, it must be important. But also dangerous," Maria reminded him. "Going there could put us, and possibly Earth, in jeopardy." Liam didn't argue. He knew the risks involved, but something about Kale's warning gnawed at him. Was it possible humanity wasn't ready for whatever lay ahead? Or was Kale testing them, seeing if they'd rise to the challenge? After much deliberation, Liam made his decision. "We're going," he announced firmly. "Whatever's waiting for us at the Nexus, we need to know. Humanity deserves answers and maybe, just maybe, redemption." The crew exchanged uneasy glances but ultimately rallied behind their captain. They trusted his judgment, even if the road ahead seemed uncertain. As the Eclipse plotted a course toward the mysterious coordinates, none of them could have guessed the trials awaiting them, or the impact their journey would have on the entire galaxy. And so, propelled by curiosity and courage, humanity took its first step toward destiny. Little did they know, their actions would ignite a chain reaction spanning stars, civilizations, and centuries. The discovery of the artifact and Kale's cryptic warning sent ripples through the crew of the Eclipse. As the ship sailed deeper into space, heading toward the mysterious coordinates labeled the Nexus, an uneasy tension settled over everyone. The excitement of their find was overshadowed by the weight of what it might mean. Were they walking into a trap? Or was this truly humanity's chance to step onto a greater stage in the universe? Dr. Emily Ross spent most of her time in the lab, analyzing every byte of data extracted from the artifact. She barely slept, her mind racing with possibilities. The coordinates were clear enough, but there were fragments of information that didn't make sense, patterns in the code that hinted at something far more complex than just a location. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Cale's warning wasn't merely cautionary. It felt like a test. And if she was right, failure could mean disaster. Jake Monroe, on the other hand, seemed unfazed. He lounged in the cockpit, flipping switches and humming old Earth tunes under his breath. "You're all thinking too hard," he said when Maria Lopez asked him about contingency plans for whatever awaited them. "If things go sideways, I'll just fly us out faster than you can say asteroid dodge." His confidence was infectious, though not everyone shared it. Alex Brooks, ever vigilant, kept checking and rechecking the ship's weapon systems, muttering about being prepared for anything. Commander Maria Lopez tried to keep morale high, but even she struggled with doubt. She had served long enough to know that curiosity often led to trouble. Still, she trusted Liam Carter implicitly. If he believed pursuing the Nexus was worth the risk, then she would follow him without hesitation. That loyalty extended to the rest of the crew as well. They were a team, flawed but determined, and together, they faced challenges no single person could overcome alone. Back on Earth, news of the artifact reached the United Stellar Alliance headquarters almost instantly. Thanks to real-time communication relays, nothing stayed secret for long, not even in the vastness of space. The moment Command heard about Cale and the coordinates, debates erupted among officials. Some argued that continuing the mission was reckless, while others saw it as an opportunity too good to pass up. Humanity had always been explorers at heart, pushing boundaries despite risks. Why stop now? Public reaction mirrored the division within USA Command. Social media buzzed with theories ranging from wild speculation about alien invasions to optimistic visions of humanity joining a galactic council of advanced species. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, holding signs demanding transparency. "What are we risking?" one group shouted. "Why gamble with our future?" Others countered, waving flags emblazoned with slogans like, "Bold steps lead to great discoveries." Amidst the chaos, one faction watched silently, the Zarathians. These insectoid beings had long considered themselves the dominant force in the galaxy. Their society thrived on conquest, viewing weaker species as either tools or threats. When word of the artifact reached them, their leaders convened immediately. Through intercepted transmissions, they learned of Cale's warning and humanity's decision to pursue the Nexus. "They grow bold," hissed Commander Vrax, the highest-ranking Zorathian officer. His mandibles clicked sharply as he reviewed the data. "This, humanity dares to tread where even gods fear to go?" Another officer, General Trelk, chimed in. "They are fragile, impulsive creatures. Their kind will never grasp the power, hidden in such places. Should they reach the Nexus, they may unlock forces beyond their control." Vrax tapped a clawed finger against the table. "Then we must ensure they do not succeed." Turning to his advisors, he issued orders. Mobilize a fleet to intercept the Eclipse before it reached its destination. If necessary, destroy it. The Zorathians saw no value in diplomacy when dominance could be achieved through force. Meanwhile, another race took notice, the Vayrons. Unlike the militaristic Zorathians, the Vayrons valued peace and harmony above all else. For centuries, they had observed humanity's rise with cautious interest. Though humans often acted impulsively, the Vayrons recognized potential in their creativity and adaptability. When Ambassador Lyra received reports of the artifact and Cale's appearance, she called an emergency meeting with her council. "We cannot ignore this," Lyra said firmly, addressing the assembled elders. Kyle spoke of a civilization destroyed by hubris. Yet humanity has chosen to proceed despite the warning. Perhaps this is a sign. They seek growth, not destruction. One elder tilted his head thoughtfully. But can they be trusted? Their history is filled with conflict and greed. Lyra nodded. True. However, they have also shown remarkable resilience. To abandon them now would be to extinguish a flame before it fully ignites. After much deliberation, the Vayrons decided to reach out covertly. They dispatched a small envoy to locate the Eclipse, hoping to offer guidance, or, failing that, protection, from those who sought to exploit humanity's newfound knowledge. As these events unfolded across the galaxy, The crew of the Eclipse remained focused on their mission. Days turned into weeks as they traveled further from Earth, venturing into regions rarely explored by anyone. The stars grew dimmer here, swallowed by vast expanses of darkness. It was lonely, isolating work, but the promise of discovery kept them going. One evening, as the artificial lights dimmed to simulate nighttime aboard the ship, Liam found himself staring out a viewport. The endless blackness stretched before him, dotted with faint pinpricks of light. He thought about Cale's words, about how humans weren't ready. Was he wrong to push forward? Had his ambition blinded him to the dangers ahead? "You look troubled," Maria said softly, joining him by the window. Liam sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" She leaned against the wall, crossing her arms. "Honestly, I don't know. But I do know this. Sitting back and doing nothing won't solve anything. If we really want to prove ourselves, to Cale, to the galaxy, we have to take the leap." Her words reassured him, but only slightly. There was still so much uncertainty, so many variables they couldn't account for. What secrets waited at the Nexus? Would it bring enlightenment or annihilation? Unbeknownst to them, the artifact itself began behaving strangely again. Late one night, Sophie Grant noticed subtle fluctuations in its energy output. At first, she dismissed it as residual effects from their earlier scans. But when the fluctuations intensified, she alerted Dr. Ross. "What's causing this?" Emily asked, peering at the readings. "I'm not sure," Sophie admitted, adjusting her glasses nervously. "It's like the thing is trying to communicate." Before they could investigate further, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as the computer announced an incoming transmission. Everyone rushed to the bridge, hearts pounding with anticipation. On the main screen appeared a distorted image, a mix of static and fragmented visuals. A voice crackled through the speakers, deep and resonant. "Humans, you trespass where none should walk." The message cut off abruptly, leaving the crew stunned. Who, or what, had sent it, and why now? Liam clenched his fists, determination, hardening his expression. Whoever it was, they wouldn't deter him. Not after coming this far. "Let's see how far we can push," he muttered under his breath. Little did he realize, their journey was about to become far more perilous, and far less predictable than any of them could imagine. The transmission that interrupted the quiet hum of the Eclipse left the crew unsettled. The voice, deep, distorted, and commanding, had spoken only a handful of words before cutting off abruptly. "Humans, you trespass where none should walk." It wasn't Cale's voice. This was something else entirely. Something darker, colder, and far more menacing. Liam Carter stood frozen at the helm, his mind racing. Was it a warning? A threat? Or merely another test to see how humanity would respond? Whatever it was, it confirmed one thing: they were being watched. Every move they made, every decision they took was under scrutiny by forces unknown, and possibly hostile. Dr. Emily Ross broke the silence first. "Did anyone trace the source?" she asked, her voice tight with urgency. Sophie Grant shook her head as she scanned the ship's systems. "It came from multiple directions at once. I can't pinpoint an origin." Jake Monroe leaned back in his seat, arms crossed. "Great. So we've got ghosts talking to us now?" Maria Lopez ignored his sarcasm, focusing instead on practical concerns. "We need to tighten security protocols. If someone or something is tracking us, we can't afford any weaknesses." Liam nodded, snapping out of his thoughts. "Agreed. Alex, double-check all external defenses. Sophie, keep monitoring for unusual energy signatures. Emily, see if you can decode anything from that message." He paused, looking around at his crew. "And everyone stays alert. We don't know what we're dealing with here." As the crew dispersed to their tasks, tension crackled in the air like static electricity. The artifact, which had been relatively quiet since its initial activation, seemed to pulse faintly in response to the heightened anxiety aboard the ship. Its surface shimmered with faint blue light, almost as if it were alive and reacting to the crew's emotions. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the ripple effects of the Eclipse's mission continued to spread. The Zarathians, having mobilized their fleet, moved swiftly toward the coordinates intercepted from Earth's communications. Their ships were sleek and angular, designed for speed and destruction. Commander Vrax led the charge, his mandibles clicking impatiently as he reviewed tactical plans. "They will not reach the Nexus," Vrax declared to his officers. "If they do, they may unlock powers beyond our understanding and beyond our control." General Trelk nodded in agreement. "Humans are clever but reckless. Left unchecked, they could destabilize the balance of power in the galaxy." Vrax's eyes glinted dangerously. "Then we must act decisively, destroy the Eclipse, and erase all evidence of their meddling." Unbeknownst to the Zarathians, the Varens were also en route to intercept the human vessel. Ambassador Lyra traveled aboard a smaller, less conspicuous craft accompanied by 2 advisors. Her goal was simple yet delicate: make contact with the humans and offer guidance without provoking conflict. Unlike the Zarathians, the Varens believed in diplomacy over domination. "We cannot let fear dictate our actions," Lyra told her advisors as they prepared for departure. "Humanity stands at a crossroads. Our role is to help them choose wisely." Her advisors exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, Elder Nira, spoke up hesitantly. "What if they refuse our aid? What if they see us as enemies?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Then we adapt. Humanity has always thrived on adaptation. It is one of their greatest strengths. Perhaps it is time we learn from them." Back on the Eclipse, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for whatever lay ahead. Dr. Ross spent hours poring over the fragmented transmission, searching for patterns or hidden meanings. She discovered subtle echoes embedded within the eye signal, echoes that matched the artifact's own energy signature. "This isn't just a random message," she announced during a briefing. "Whoever sent it knows about the artifact. Maybe they even created it." "That doesn't make me feel better," Jake muttered under his breath. Maria shot him a sharp look. "Focus, Jake. This matters." Ignoring the exchange, Liam turned to Emily. "Can you use this information to figure out who's behind it?" Emily hesitated. "I think so, but it'll take time. Whoever encoded this message did a good job hiding their tracks." While Emily worked on decoding the transmission, Sophie focused on stabilizing the artifact's energy fluctuations. The device seemed increasingly unstable, emitting bursts of radiation that disrupted the ship's systems. At one point, the lights flickered violently and the temperature dropped noticeably throughout the vessel. "Something's wrong," Sophie said, her brow furrowed as she adjusted tools on her workstation. "It's like the artifact is resisting us or trying to communicate in its own way." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You mean it's throwing a tantrum because we won't give it snacks?" Sophie rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a small smile. Even in tense moments, Jake's humor provided a strange kind of relief. Still, there was no denying the seriousness of the situation. If the artifact became fully unstable, it could jeopardize the entire mission, or worse, destroy the Shawasum. As the days passed, the crew began to notice changes, not just in the artifact but in themselves. Tempers flared more easily and disagreements escalated quickly. Alex grew increasingly paranoid, insisting on double and triple checking every system, while Maria found herself snapping at minor mistakes. Only Liam remained steady, though the weight of leadership pressed heavily on his shoulders. One evening, as the artificial lights dimmed to simulate night, Liam joined Maria in the observation deck. The vast emptiness of space stretched before them, dotted with distant stars. For a moment, neither spoke, content to simply gaze out at the void. "You ever wonder if we're doing the right thing?" Liam asked finally, breaking the silence. Maria sighed, leaning against the railing. "All the time. But then I remind myself why we're here. Humanity doesn't get anywhere by playing it safe." Liam nodded slowly. "Still, sometimes I wish we had clearer answers. Kyle warned us about Hubris, and now we've got these cryptic messages and shadowy figures watching our every move. Maria placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. We'll figure it out. Together. Elsewhere, the Zorathian fleet approached rapidly, their sensors locked onto the Eclipse. Commander Vrax studied the human ship through long-range scanners, his expression unreadable. They are fragile, he mused aloud, but determined. Such qualities can be dangerous. At the same time, Ambassador Lyra's ship slipped silently through the darkness, avoiding detection. Her heart raced as she considered the delicate task ahead. Making contact with the humans would require finesse and trust. She hoped they were ready to listen. On board the Eclipse, the artifact pulsed brighter than ever, its glow casting eerie shadows across the cargo bay. Unseen by the crew, a faint image began to form above its surface, a swirling vortex of light and sound. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but growing stronger with each passing second. As the galaxy converged on their position, the crew of the Eclipse remained oblivious to the storm brewing around them. All they knew was that their journey was far from over, and that the choices they made next would shape not only their fate but the destiny of countless others. Little did they realize the true trial was just beginning. The journey to the Nexus grew more perilous with each passing day. The crew of the Eclipse faced challenges that tested their resolve, their skills, and their unity. As they ventured deeper into uncharted territory, the ship's sensors began picking up strange anomalies, gravitational distortions, energy spikes, and faint signals that seemed to whisper warnings in languages no one could understand. It was as if the galaxy itself was trying to push them back. Dr. Emily Ross spent most of her time deciphering these signals, hoping to find patterns or clues that might prepare them for what lay ahead. Her work became a race against time, as the artifact aboard the ship continued to behave erratically. Its glowing surface pulsed with increasing intensity, sometimes casting the entire cargo bay in an otherworldly blue light. Sophie Grant worked tirelessly alongside her, attempting to stabilize the device before it caused irreparable damage to the ship's systems. "We're getting close," Emily said one evening, pointing at a cluster of data on her screen. These readings match the coordinates we're heading toward. Whatever the Nexus is, it's massive. Sophie frowned, glancing at the artifact. Massive doesn't even begin to cover it. This thing feels alive, like it knows where we're going. Jake. Monroe overheard their conversation from across the room and smirked. "Well, if it starts talking again, let me know. I'll ask it nicely not to blow us up." Despite his joking tone, there was an edge of unease in his voice. Even Jake, who prided himself on staying calm under pressure, couldn't ignore the growing tension aboard the ship. Everyone felt it, the sense that something monumental awaited them, something that would change everything. Commander Maria Lopez called a meeting to address the crew's concerns. Standing in the briefing room, she looked each member in the eye. "We've been through tough situations before, but this is different. We're entering unknown territory, not just physically but morally. Whatever happens next will define us, as individuals and as representatives of humanity." Liam Carter nodded in agreement. "Maria's right. We need to stay focused and trust each other. If we stick together, we can handle whatever comes our way." His words bolstered the crew's spirits, but privately, Liam wondered how much truth there was to them. He knew the risks involved in pursuing the Nexus. Kale's warning echoed in his mind. You tread paths meant for gods. Was he leading his team into glory or disaster? As the Eclipse approached its destination, the first sign of trouble appeared on the horizon. A swarm of drones materialized out of nowhere, surrounding the ship like insects drawn to light. Their sleek metallic bodies reflected the dim glow of distant stars, and their movements were synchronized with eerie precision. "What are those things?" Alex Brooks asked, gripping the hilt of his weapon tightly. "No idea," Maria replied, studying the readouts. "But they're armed, and closing fast." Without hesitation, Jake took control of the ship, weaving through the swarm with expert maneuvers. The drones fired beams of concentrated energy, narrowly missing the hull as the Eclipse dodged and twisted through the chaos. Sophie shouted updates from engineering, warning about overheating engines and fluctuating power levels. "We can't keep this up forever," Jake yelled, sweat beading on his forehead. "They're too many." "Hold steady," Liam ordered. "Sophie, divert auxiliary power to shields. Emily, see if you can hack into their systems." Emily sprang into action, connecting her console to the ship's mainframe. She analyzed the drone's programming, searching for vulnerabilities. To her surprise, she found traces of code eerily similar to Earth's artificial intelligence technology. It was as if someone or something had reverse-engineered human designs. "I think I can disable them temporarily," Emily announced, typing furiously. "But it'll take a minute." "That's a minute we don't have," Alex shouted as another blast rocked the ship. Finally, Emily's efforts paid off. With a burst of static, the drones froze mid-flight, their lights flickering before shutting down completely. For a brief moment, the crew allowed themselves to breathe a sigh of relief. "How did you do that?" Maria asked, impressed. Emily hesitated, her expression troubled. "Their programming. It's based on algorithms we developed. Back on Earth, someone or something is using our own tech against us." The realization sent a chill through the room. Humanity's creations had been turned into weapons, and now they were facing the consequences. When the crew finally reached the Nexus, they found themselves staring at a structure so vast it defied comprehension. It resembled a Dyson sphere, a colossal shell encircling a dying star, but unlike anything humanity had ever constructed. Its surface shimmered with intricate patterns of light, resembling neural pathways or circuitry. Energy coursed through it like blood flowing through veins, giving the impression of life. "Is that alive?" Sophie whispered, awestruck. "It's beautiful," Emily murmured, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. Jake, however, remained skeptical. "Beautiful or not, it looks like it could swallow us whole." Liam studied the structure intently. This must be what Cale was talking about. The Nexus isn't just a place, it's a being. Before anyone could respond, the artifact aboard the ship reacted violently. Its glow intensified until it filled the entire cargo bay, bathing everyone in blinding light. Then, without warning, the ship's systems went haywire. Alarms blared, controls malfunctioned, and the hum of energy from the Nexus resonated through the hull like a heartbeat. "What's happening?" Alex demanded, struggling to maintain order. "I think it's syncing with the artifact," Emily shouted over the noise. "It's trying to communicate." The crew braced themselves as the light engulfed the ship entirely. When it faded, they found themselves standing inside a vast chamber within the Nexus. The walls pulsed with the same energy patterns they'd seen on the exterior, and the air vibrated with an almost musical quality. In the center of the chamber floated a massive holographic figure, an entity far larger and more imposing than Cale. "I am Arendor," the figure intoned, its voice deep and resonant. "Guardian of this realm, why have you come?" Liam stepped forward cautiously. "We came seeking knowledge. We mean no harm." Arendor regarded him silently, its gaze piercing. "Your kind has always sought power beyond your understanding. Tell me, mortal, why should I trust you?" The question hung, heavy in the air. Liam glanced at his crew, seeing mirrored uncertainty in their faces. Finally, he spoke. "Because we're willing to learn, to grow, to prove ourselves worthy." For a long moment, Arendor said nothing. Then, with a wave of its hand, the chamber shifted. Images appeared around them, scenes of civilizations rising and falling, of wars fought and peace achieved. Each vision carried weight, showing both the heights of achievement and the depths of destruction. "These are the echoes of those who came before you," Arendor explained. "They sought dominion over forces they could not control. Their hubris led to their downfall." Maria stepped forward, her voice steady. "We're not them. We may make mistakes, but we also adapt. That's what makes us strong." Arendor tilted its head, considering her words. "Strength alone is meaningless without wisdom. Prove to me that you possess both." With that, the visions dissolved. replaced by a series of floating platforms suspended in midair. Each platform bore a symbol glowing faintly, one representing knowledge, another courage, and others yet to be understood. "You will face trials," Arendor declared. "Pass them, and you may earn access to the Nexus's secrets. Fail, and you will join the ashes of those who came before." The crew exchanged nervous glances. They had known the journey wouldn't be easy, but this was beyond anything they'd imagined. Still, there was no turning back now. Together, they stepped onto the first platform, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. Little did they realize their actions here would ripple across the galaxy, shaping the future of countless species, including their own. The first trial began almost immediately after the crew stepped onto the glowing platform. The chamber around them shifted once more, dissolving into a vast, endless desert, bathed in golden light. The air shimmered with heat waves, and the ground, beneath their feet, felt unnervingly unstable, as though it might crumble at any moment. Arendor's voice echoed through the space, calm but firm. "Your first challenge is one of trust. Only by relying on each other will you survive." Before anyone could ask what that meant, the ground split apart, revealing deep chasms between jagged rocks. Each crevice glowed faintly, pulsing with energy that seemed alive. Across the expanse, another platform hovered, its surface marked with symbols similar to those on the artifact. "This looks fun," Jake muttered sarcastically, eyeing the gaps warily. He glanced back at the others. "Any ideas?" Liam studied the terrain carefully. "We'll need to work together. Sophie, do you think you can stabilize these platforms?" Sophie frowned, already pulling out her portable toolkit. "I can try, but I'll need time and protection while I work." Maria nodded, stepping forward. "Alex and I will cover you. Just focus on getting us across." Dr. Emily Ross hesitated, looking uneasy. She wasn't used to physical challenges like this. Her expertise lay in solving puzzles, not navigating treacherous landscapes. Sensing her discomfort, Liam placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're part of this team too, Emily," he said firmly. "We all have roles to play." With that, the group moved forward cautiously. Sophie led the way, scanning the ground with her tools and placing small stabilizing devices along the edges of the platforms. Alex and Maria flanked her, weapons drawn and eyes alert for any signs of danger. Behind them, Emily carried additional equipment, her mind racing as she tried to anticipate potential problems. As they progressed, the environment grew more hostile. The glowing chasms widened, forcing them to leap greater distances. At one point, a section of the path collapsed just as Jake jumped clear, landing hard on the next platform. He rolled to his feet, grinning despite the close call. "Still got it," he quipped, brushing dust off his jacket. But the trials weren't over yet. Suddenly, shadowy figures emerged from the shimmering air, phantasmal shapes resembling humanoid forms. They didn't attack directly, but instead disrupted the stability of the platforms, causing tremors that threatened to throw the crew off balance. "These things are messing with us," Alex shouted, firing a shot toward one of the apparitions. His weapon passed harmlessly through the figure, which dissolved into mist before reforming nearby. "They're not real," Emily realized aloud. "They're illusions designed to test our resolve." "Great," Jake groaned. "So we're fighting ghosts now?" Ignoring his comment, Liam focused on keeping everyone moving. "Stay focused, don't let them distract you." It was easier said than done. The phantoms whispered taunts, echoing doubts and fears within the minds of the crew. To Emily, they spoke of failure, of being inadequate compared to her brilliant predecessors. To Jake, they mocked his recklessness, suggesting he'd get everyone killed. Even Liam heard voices questioning whether he was truly fit to lead. Despite the psychological assault, the crew pressed on. Sophie worked tirelessly to reinforce the platforms, her hands steady even as sweat dripped down her face. Maria and Alex coordinated their efforts seamlessly, covering each other's blind spots and ensuring no one fell behind. And when Emily stumbled during a particularly tricky jump, Jake caught her arm, pulling her to safety without hesitation. Finally, after what felt like hours, they reached the final platform. Exhausted but triumphant, they stood together as Arendor's voice returned. "Well done," it intoned. "You have proven that unity is your strength, but there are more trials ahead." Without warning, the scene shifted again. This time they found themselves standing in a dense forest illuminated by an eerie purple glow. Towering trees stretched high above them, their branches twisting like skeletal fingers. A thick mist swirled at their feet, obscuring the ground and making every step uncertain. "The second trial tests your courage," Arendor announced. "Face your fears, or be consumed by them." Almost immediately the mist thickened, forming grotesque shapes that lunged toward the group. These weren't mere illusions, they were solid, tangible creatures made of shadow and malice. Their eyes glowed red, and their claws scraped against the bark of the trees as they circled the crew. "Okay, this is officially creepy," Jake said, gripping his weapon tightly. Maria took charge, motioning for everyone to form a defensive circle. "Stick together. We don't know what these things are capable of." The creatures attacked swiftly, striking from multiple directions. Alex fired precise shots, aiming for their glowing eyes, the only vulnerable spot he could identify. Maria wielded her combat knife with deadly accuracy, slashing at anything that came too close. Meanwhile, Sophie used her engineering skills, creatively, rigging makeshift traps using fallen branches and wires. But the real challenge came when the creatures began targeting specific members of the crew, exploiting their deepest fears. One creature lunged at Emily, transforming midair into the image of a former colleague who had died during a failed experiment. Her breath hitched as she froze, paralyzed by guilt and grief. "Emily, snap out of it!" Liam shouted, tackling. The creature before it could reach her. The impact shattered the illusion, leaving only a wisp of smoke behind. Another creature cornered Jake, taking the form of a younger version of himself, reckless, arrogant, and dismissive of consequences. It sneered at him, mocking his past mistakes. For a moment, Jake faltered, anger boiling inside him. But then he remembered something Maria had said earlier. Strength alone is meaningless without wisdom. With a growl, Jake swung his weapon, destroying the apparition. "Not today," he muttered under his breath. As the battle raged on, the crew slowly realized that the key to defeating these creatures wasn't brute force. It was confronting their own inner demons. When Maria faced a specter of her late mentor, accusing her of failing to live up to expectations, she responded with quiet determination. "I'm still learning," she said firmly, "and I won't stop." When Sophie encountered a vision of herself doubting her abilities, she clenched her fists and shouted, "I've gotten us this far and I'm not giving up now." One by one, the creatures dissolved, unable to withstand the crew's resilience. By the time the last shadow faded, the forest had grown silent. The mist receded, revealing a new platform waiting ahead. "You have faced your fears and emerged stronger," Arendor declared. "But the final trial awaits, one that will test your morality." The scene shifted once more, transporting the crew to a barren wasteland under a blood-red sky. In the distance stood a massive gate, its doors carved with intricate designs depicting scenes of creation and destruction. Before they could approach, however, a lone figure appeared, a frail, elderly man clutching a staff. "Please," the man rasped, his voice trembling. "Help me, I cannot pass through the gate alone." The crew exchanged wary glances. Something about the man felt wrong. Yet he looked so helpless, so desperate. "What do we do?" Emily asked softly, torn between compassion and suspicion. Liam knelt beside the man, studying him closely. "Who are you? Why are you here?" The man smiled weakly. "I am nobody, just a lost soul seeking redemption. Will you help me?" Before Liam could answer, the ground beneath the man cracked open, revealing molten lava below. The man screamed, clinging to the edge as the earth crumbled further. Instinctively, Maria reached out to pull him up, but stopped herself just in time. "It's a trick," she said sharply. "Look at his shadow." Sure enough, the man's shadow didn't match his form. It writhed and twisted, growing larger and darker until it loomed over them like a monstrous predator. "You dare deny me?" The man snarled, his voice deepening into a guttural roar. His body morphed into a towering beast, its eyes blazing with fury. Then perish! The final fight was brutal. The creature lashed out with claws and fire, forcing the crew to dodge and counterattack strategically. Every move required precision and teamwork. When the beast attempted to crush Liam under its massive paw, Jake tackled it from behind, buying precious seconds for Alex to aim a critical shot. Finally, with a deafening roar, the creature collapsed, dissolving into ash. The gate opened wide, revealing a bright light beyond. "You have proven yourselves worthy," Arendor said, its tone softer now. "Enter, and claim the knowledge you seek." As the crew stepped through the gate, they found themselves back aboard the Eclipse, the artifact glowing softly in the cargo bay. Though physically unharmed, they were changed, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Little did they realize their journey had only begun. Outside the ship, the galaxy continued to watch, waiting to see what humanity would do next.